Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We're here today to talk more about the SpaceX in-flight abort test.
It's a demonstration mission for SpaceX to show that we're able to eject our capsule off of Falcon 9 safely and reliably.
This test is very important to us. It's really the culmination of years close partnership with NASA, and it's one of the key steps before we go to our Demonstration 2 mission, which will carry Bob and Doug up to the space station.
SpaceX must pass this critical in-flight abort test before NASA will allow them to fly their astronauts. Soon, human lives will be at stake, so every precaution must be taken.
The plan will be that Dragon is on top of the rocket. The rocket will take off. At about 84 seconds into launch, we'll trigger the launch escape system. Then Dragon will carry the capsule safely away from the Falcon. Dragon will hit about Mach 2.3 as it's getting away. It will then hit an apogee of about 40 kilometers high. It'll jettison the trunk. It'll reorient itself with the Draco engines, and then it'll continue its trajectory down. And about 5 minutes after launch, the parachutes will deploy. And about 10 minutes after launch, we expect splashdown. The Dragon recovery forces will also be out there. One of the things I want to mention, and this is kind of exciting, the Falcon has flown 3 times before, and it's going to refly for this test for the Commercial Crew Program.
The booster behind us, or the Falcon 9 behind us, will be flying our in-flight abort, so this will be its 4th flight.
To my knowledge, the in-flight abort test is the first ever full-scale launch escape system safety test. In the past, other crewed programs, they've done subscale testing. This is the first time I think someone has ever taken a rocket and intentionally thrown it away with the sole focus on ensuring that the system they're designing to ensure the crew is safe will actually function as expected.
A big part of the cost of the in-flight abort test will be a multi-million-dollar rocket that will be deliberately and completely destroyed in the test.
Hi, Chris Davenport from the Washington Post. Question about the fate of your booster. You said it could tumble, it might come apart, you mentioned a fire. I mean, is there a possibility that it could actually explode if people are watching, from the beach? Should they be prepared for that? Thanks.
Sure. Absolutely, Chris. Yes, both stages are loaded with fuel. We expect there to be some sort of ignition and probably a fireball of some kind. Whether I would call it an explosion that you would see from the ground, I don't know. We'll have to see what actually happens. But I wouldn't be surprised, and that wouldn't be a bad outcome if that's what we saw.
While you hope the abort engines never light, you don't want that ever to happen, because that means something very, very bad has happened. You're in an emergency situation, but it can happen. I mean, just recently, NASA astronaut Nick Hague was on a Russian Soyuz where there was a problem with the rocket. The Soyuz spacecraft's emergency abort systems lit, and it ferried them to safety. Now, it was a wild ride, and they pulled something like 7 Gs or 7 times the force of gravity on their body. It was not a comfortable experience, but they were alive and they landed safely, and that abort system saved their lives. The in-flight abort test, if you're Doug and Bob, that's immensely important because it just reassures them that the spacecraft they're going to get on is safe.
Key NASA and SpaceX officials have gathered in Firing Room 4, also known as Launch Control, at the Kennedy Space Center. They will oversee today's critical in-flight abort test. If this test fails, the Crew Dragon program will suffer a major design setback.
We're obviously doing everything we can to make this mission as reliable as possible. No stone is left unturned. We're turning every stone over 3 times or 4 times just to get that probability of success as close to 100% as possible.
This test is about the entire team, the NASA team and the SpaceX team coming together and pulling off a pretty complex exercise, right? We're going to launch a capsule, we're going to put it in the ocean. Department of Defense is going to have coordination required between NASA and SpaceX, and that entire team is going to show that they can bring a capsule home safely, bring the crew, if they were on board, home safely. And so that's really what we're expecting to see out of this test.
Weather's looking okay, and the range is green for launch.
Dragon is in countdown. FTS is armed. Go for launch.
10, 9, 8.
If the test isn't successful for some reason, of course, you have a whole group of folks both on the SpaceX and NASA side that will have to take a look at things and figure out why it wasn't successful. And this is obviously something close to the last step. This is all part of building up to flying crew on Dragon.
7, 6.
When you watch a launch abort test, you're wondering, has everything been done to get this vehicle ready for an end-to-end test in one of the most stressful and dynamic scenarios you can imagine for spaceflight?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What you're looking at is the most
স্ক্যানার দিয়েছে, তারা বিশ্বকে টেলিভিশন দিয়েছে, তারা বিশ্বকে স্টিম ইঞ্জিন দিয়েছে এবং তারা
This could take us some time.
This is the final step. Everything is on the line with today's in-flight abort test. If this test fails, NASA will not risk the lives of their astronauts, and the entire project will come to a halt.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff. Super 5 aim high. Go Falcon, go Dragon.
This potentially life-saving capsule ejection has been years in the making, and it will be over in just minutes.
Rockets it's basically a controlled explosion that's pushing a mass into orbit at faster and faster speeds, and it's the most dangerous part of getting anything to orbit. And so to simulate a failure of the thing that is most likely to fail, the rocket, and demonstrate that the capsule with the precious cargo that's sitting in that capsule can survive that, so key.
SpaceX has launched a Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon capsule. The abort is automatically activated when the system detects that the rocket is malfunctioning, such as in the case of an engine failure, explosion, or the rocket veering off course. The abort can also be manually triggered by ground control. That will happen in this test.
Vehicle is supersonic and passing through maximum dynamic pressure.
Once the computer senses that the rocket has malfunctioned, it blows the bolts holding the capsule to the rocket.
Dragon launch escape initiated.
Then, the Crew Dragon's Super Draco engines fire for 10 seconds to propel the capsule away to safety.
Dragon's away!
Whoa. Because the Super Draco escape thrusters are integrated into the vehicle, you have a launch escape capability all the way to orbit, which has never been the case for any spacecraft before.
Approximately 10 seconds after the abort was triggered by ground control, the Crew Dragon capsule jettisoned away. The force of the ejection made the rocket unstable and it exploded. But the Dragon capsule was already safely a mile away from the rocket. With the Dragon jettisoned safely away, the trunk which carries unpressurized cargo is ejected and will crash into the ocean. Now, the capsule will begin to reorient itself for splashdown. However, the mission is not over. With the capsule hitting a top speed of Mach 2, this last phase is key for the astronauts' safety.
Oh, drogue!
Our parachutes are triggered and deployed when the capsule reaches the correct altitude. And so at a high altitude, it will deploy the drogue parachutes. And when
having a system on board Dragon that can get you out is pretty cool.
I think people sometimes forget like that technology does not automatically improve. It only improves if a lot of people work very hard on that technology. We have to drive innovation hard to make life multiplanetary. I think this is very important to secure the future of life as we know it, and to ensure that the light of consciousness does not go out.
We are a nation of explorers. We're also a nation that leads. And this, of course, represents us returning American astronauts to space on American rockets from American soil. So this is a great opportunity for us to once again lead. And this time when we lead, we're doing it differently than we've ever done it before. We need to make sure that we are constantly pushing the envelope, constantly moving forward with technology, and making sure that we are commercializing it in the process. Today we had a launch abort test of a commercial crew provider. Commercialization of space is the next giant leap. And when we take this leap, we absolutely need to make sure that our crew is safe.
The success of today's in-flight abort test sets the stage to send astronauts to space from U.S. soil once again, in a mission called Demo 2. And for the first time, they'll fly aboard a private spacecraft.
So in this very challenging time, when we launch to the International Space Station, something we haven't done from American soil since 2011, I do think that it gives people an opportunity to dream big and to look up and to know that we can do stunning things. And it gives people hope, not just in the United States of America, but throughout the entire world.
I don't generally get nervous, but when I start thinking about this mission, I actually get quite nervous about it. The launch of Demo 2 will be the day. This will be the moment for this company. This is the culmination of everything we have done since the company was founded in 2002.
This is a crucial step, getting people back to orbit again. You know, knock on wood, I think probably success is high, but it is not 100%. We're just doing everything we can to think of any possible way to improve the probability of success, because this would be a big setback if something were to go wrong.
Bob and Doug are poised to leave quarantine and ride in Teslas to iconic pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida.
We're excited, of course, for the mission, and one of our goals is to share it with everybody.
I hope that people appreciate the amount of effort done by so many people at NASA and so many people at SpaceX to get us to this point.
When Bob and Doug walk down the crew access arm to the Dragon capsule, they'll also be walking into the history books as the two astronauts that returned America to space from U.S. soil. This will be a stunning achievement for NASA and SpaceX, officially launching the second golden age of space travel. This is but the first step on a long journey that will take us back to the moon, then to Mars, and beyond.